Max, you are never shy to look at what is happening, what is unfolding, and look at the 3D things that are unfolding. But how do you ground yourself? How do you, from, on any given day, get from this is what's happening, this is genocide, but then switch over and give this beautiful, grounded, and spiritual perspective of things? How do you do that? How do you
No,
ground?
no stake in the outcome, brother. I'm only here for a breath. I'm only here ultimately, like I said, I'm here to experience myself and to find myself to the fullest of my potential. If mankind destroys themselves, well, that's not my problem. I suggested a better possibility and a better way of doing things. If they didn't listen, well, they didn't listen. The experiment will fail, and well, I guess we'll do it again another way. God has his plan or whatever, and he'll work it out. But so I have no stake in the outcome. If this, I mean, I can see a better way of doing things, and I believe that I should do the right thing in all that I do, and I should lead by example in all that I do. So I'm not going to go along with any of that stuff. So, but it doesn't affect me ultimately. I can, like I said, I mean, I can live out of a suitcase. I spent my life on the road. I don't have any real possessions. I can live anywhere. Here in Mexico, even if the food chain breaks down, well, there's fish in the ocean, there's mangoes falling off the trees. There's ways through things. I've always said you've got to walk the path of the warrior. You've got to be able to face infinity without flinching. So you've got to be able to face with serenity odds and circumstances that are not included in your calculations. I never expected I'd be leaving Australia and doing what I did, but I had to do it. So I came here, and it's okay. I can just get through it and do what I'm doing. It's all good. It doesn't matter. I can do what I do from anywhere in the world. So I mean, you think of reality. Most people live their lives in a state of fear or a state of anxiety. They've lost connection with themselves. They're living in their mind. They're in a state of anxiety for things that have happened in the past, which don't exist now, or they're in a state of fear and apprehension for things that may happen in the future, which don't exist now. So they're living their lives stuck in their mind in fear of the non-existential. And fear of the non-existential, well, we call that insanity. So you have a society that lives according to different socially acceptable levels of insanity, and they call that a sane, well-adjusted society. If you can get out of your mind, see, most people are too afraid to live. They're too afraid to live because they're scared of death. So they're too afraid to live, they're too afraid to die. It's a crazy situation that they're in, and they're in their mind because they're lost in their imagination. Because with what happened in the past, well, that's imagination because it doesn't exist now. What happens in the future? That's imagination. You don't know what it's going to be, so you're stuck in your mind. So you're too afraid to live. You're not experiencing the taste and the smell and the feel of this present moment, what it could lead to. So when you're aware of all this, you can't help but being grounded. The ground is beneath your feet. You're walking on it every day. How can you not be grounded? It's because you're in your mind. Get out of your mind. You're in this vessel. You exist in a 3D reality for a reason. Could be a clue there. You're supposed to participate. You're supposed to be aware of what's going on. Could be a reason, could be a clue. You exist. There could be something in that, So really, I mean, that's how to do it. I mean, and I use weed, I use hape, I use things that ground me. Hape is wonderful stuff. It's a tobacco snuff, which is very grounding. If ever I feel ungrounded, I just have some hape, and I love that sort of stuff. It decalcifies your pineal, and just puts you straight, gets rid of all the mind chatter, and you just there for a couple of minutes and go, okay, that's good. I'm back to who I am. But I think just an awareness of reality, brother, it's just grounding, knowing what you are is grounding. Looking at all this stuff and thinking, well, why am I so stressed about all this stuff? I went away for a couple of weeks, actually. I was down in Zipolite, and I couldn't even connect to the internet pretty much for like 3 weeks. And it was incredibly healing because there was no chatter, there was no input. The world, it was like it didn't exist. And I realized that I didn't come here for that world. I came here for this experience in this vessel. We're too caught up in all that other world and what our peer group thinks and what we should have and stuff and all the stuff that's going on in Ukraine and COVID. And, oh my God, turn it all off. Turn it off. Go and pick a coconut or something, Yeah.
And then magically, when you do that, it turns itself off too, kind of oftentimes. I mean, it's things are activated through our attention so much. But you touched on a few quotes that you have said many times, and in a few quotes that others have said. and think it was a little bit of a change from what Krishnamurti said about being well adjusted to an insane society is not a sign of health. But people like Krishnamurti and other teachers and spiritual masters, one thing that at least the ones that I feel connected to, they always have this beautiful balance. They come from this highest perspective, but they acknowledge we live in a physical reality. There are things to do in your daily lives. Don't ignore those. Before enlightenment, chop wouldn't carry water. After enlightenment, chop wouldn't carry water. Still be present aware of your surroundings. And I think that is a difficulty for many people. Like you said, either they're too hardcore grounded and say, hey, I'm just fearful of what's happening, or they have their heads so far in the clouds that they're just, everything's going to be taken care for me, unicorns and rainbows. And, it's all, the balance is really the key here. And I so appreciate that you, most of the time, listening to your reports, which I encourage everyone to do. I think the main place is BitChute right now, right, for the Crow House?
Yeah, BitChute and Odyssey, yeah.
What I so appreciate is you present the information, you give it out there, but most often you remind people of their power and that it's in their hands. It's not in someone else's hands. And apparently this is something we just need to repeat and repeat and repeat until we won't feel the need to repeat it anymore, because it will be so manifested in people's minds. Is there something like a meditation that you love to do? Is there something that, like a prayer that you like to speak? A lot of people ask us what the best meditation or prayer is, and we can always say trust your guidance. But what do you do in that realm?
I just go to that quiet place in my mind and I observe my thoughts. I don't really have any standard meditation type procedure that I do. I just observe myself, observe my thoughts. Are my thoughts my own? Are my thoughts serving me? Are things in my life serving me? People need to get rid of the things in their life that aren't serving them. If something is getting in the way of you being you and you experiencing yourself, get rid of that sort of stuff out of your life. And when you're on the road and doing kind of what I do, well, you're in your own space, so you create your own reality. So there isn't really any noise. So yeah, I don't really have anything special. I just go to that quiet place, brother.